10 billionaires who are broke now. Multi-million-dollar yachts, mega mansions for homes, private jets, fleets of cars, and more. These men and women had it all and were worth billions. But a series of bad decisions, bad luck, and other factors made them lose it all in a spectacular fashion. And these 0.001%ers brutally became the 99%. The ultra-rich are typically able to diversify their wealth and protect themselves from economic instability. This is how the wealthy protect their assets in a recession. But they have instances where some billionaires have gone broke, with some losing their money and the more dishonest ones also losing their freedom. Economic downturns are hard on everyone, but for billionaires, they can be catastrophic. So let's find out who they are and what's their story. So here are 10 billionaires who are broke now. Our number one lost $30 billion in 1 year. Want to know what he did after losing all his fortune? Number 10. Patricia Kluge. Patricia Kluge was once married to the richest man in the world, John Kluge, who had a personal wealth of $5 billion US in 1990. At the time of their divorce, she was left with just $1 million US in alimony, but she also received the lavish estate of Albemarle in the Virginia countryside. She took her chance and established the Kluge Estate Winery and Vineyard. Kluge also entered the real estate business by taking a loan of $65 million US to build more than a dozen luxury houses, which later turned out to be her biggest mistake. The 2008 banking and housing crisis caused Kluge to default on her loans, and she was forced to sell her Albemarle estate with all her valuable possessions. Her estate, winery, and vineyard was bought by Donald Trump for $6 million US. Oh, that was quite a bad decision. Number 9. Alberto Villar. Alberto Villar is a former US-based investment manager who made billions through his investment company, Amerindo Investment Advisors. Along with his business partner, Gary Tanaka, Villar made hefty profits over the years. At its height, Villar's company had an estimated net worth of $1 billion US. But in 2000, a violent stock market sell-off badly affected both his and his company's financial status. Then in 2005, Villar and Tanaka were arrested on charges of security fraud, and in 3 years, both were convicted of money laundering, wire fraud, and stock fraud cases. Currently, he is serving a 10-year prison sentence. Number 8. Adolf Merkel. Adolf Merkel was once Germany's richest people with a personal wealth of around $12.8 billion US. Like others on this list, Merkel was also hit hard by the credit crisis of 2008, in which he lost about $3.6 billion US. Despite the massive loss, he still remained one of the 5 richest men in Germany. But by the end of 2008, his investment firm VEM faced a serious liquidity crisis and reported $6 billion US in losses. To make up for it, Merkel played a huge gamble by making a series of risky investments, which ultimately caused him to lose more money. After losing almost everything, Merkel tragically ended his life by throwing himself in front of a train. May his soul rest in peace, but if you think that was a tragedy, check out our next one. Number 7. Vijay Mallya. Vijay Mallya was an Indian businessman and a former billionaire who is currently a subject of extradition from the UK to India to face charges of massive financial fraud. Mallya, the king of good times, became India's richest liquor king after taking over his father's mid-sized company at the age of 28. He turned that business into a multi-billion-dollar firm, making a personal fortune of $1.5 billion US. His troubles began when the amount of debt started to pile on his Kingfisher Airlines. He soon lost his controlling interest in the United Spirits and was forced to step down as chairman. With millions of dollars in debt, Mallya fled India to seek refuge in the UK. From being a billionaire, Mallya quickly descended to a wanted criminal. Why all billionaires are fraud? Anyway, let's head to our next pick. Number 6. Sean Quinn. The recession of 2008 forced many companies out of business and wealthy people to go bankrupt, and one of those was Sean Quinn, who was one of the richest people in Ireland with a net value of about $6 billion US in 2005. With the help of his holding company, Quinn Group, he bought stakes in various multinational companies, including Bupa Ireland and Anglo-Irish Bank. Soon after the financial crisis hit the Irish banking system, Quinn lost almost all of his family wealth, most of which is attributed to the dramatic losses in the Anglo-Irish Bank. In 2008, one of his businesses, Quinn Insurance, was fined €3.25 million or $3.6 million US, by Ireland's financial regulator because of insider loans issued by Quinn Insurance. With multiple cases of liquidation litigation, corporate fines, and fraud, Quinn finally filed for personal bankruptcy in 2011. Do you know a woman named Jocelyn Wildenstein lost all her wealth because her piece of art are found out to be fake? Number 5. Bernie Madoff. Bernie Madoff was undoubtedly the king of Ponzi schemes. For more than 20 years, until he was arrested in 2008, Bernie Madoff successfully defrauded thousands of investors of billions of dollars with his investment strategy called split strike conversion. In his scheme, Madoff offered his clients high and steady returns, which he actually managed by pooling all the funds in one bank account. After his scheme failed during the financial crisis of 2008, as he was unable to attract more clients because of the minimum liquidity in the market, federal investigators uncovered $64.8 billion US worth of fraud. It was estimated that Madoff accumulated billions of dollars in personal wealth over the years before he was undone. He was sentenced to 150 years in a maximum security prison. OMG, 150 years? I think he'll be out in 50 years. Did you get it? Number 4. Elizabeth Holmes. Elizabeth Holmes, an American inventor and entrepreneur, became the youngest self-made female billionaire in 2015 after her healthcare technology company, Theranos, reached $9 billion US in valuation and made a hefty profit. Holmes became an instant celebrity with her name on Time's 100 Most Influential People of 2015. But her time as a billionaire was cut short as federal investigations loomed over her company, following allegations of misleading investors about a new, innovative blood testing technology. Following these allegations, her credibility and personal wealth both took a serious hit. Forbes devalued her personal wealth to zero, and Fortune titled Holmes as one of the world's most disappointing leaders. She was also banned from any position in her company for 2 years by the Center of Medicare and Medicaid Services. Well, you deserved it. Number 3. Robert Allen Stanford. Robert Allen Stanford is a former billionaire financier who is now serving a 110-year prison term since 2009 after being convicted in massive financial fraud. He was the chairman of now-defunct financial services company Stanford Financial Group. One of its subsidiaries, Stanford International Bank, claimed it had around $8.5 billion US in AUM, assets under management, of at least 30,000 clients in more than 136 different nations. It all started in 2009 when the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission launched an investigation on Allen Stanford and his company and charged him on account of fraud and illegally selling $8 billion US in high-yield certificates of deposit in a massive Ponzi scheme. He was finally arrested in June of 2009 on accounts of mail and wire fraud, money laundering, and obstruction of justice, among other charges. He's now penniless and behind bars after being sentenced to a 100-year jail term in 2012. Smile, Allen, you got 50 less than Madoff. Number 2. Björgolfur Gudmundsson. The banking crisis of 2007-2008 affected Iceland more than any nation in the world. It all started when all 3 major Icelandic banks defaulted on their loans in late 2008, which ultimately caused major economic and political unrest in Iceland lasting for 3 years. Björgolfur Gudmundsson, who was the second richest person in Iceland before the crisis, gained about a 45% share of Landsbanki, one of those 3 largest banks in 2002. According to Forbes, in 2008, Gudmundsson was ranked 1,014th on the list of richest persons worldwide, with a total wealth of $1.1 billion US. Following the financial crisis, Gudmundsson lost chairmanship of Landsbanki in 2008 and declared his personal bankruptcy a year later. In less than 1 year, his personal wealth went down from $1.1 billion US to zero. His son, on the other hand, Thor Björgolfsson, who also lost his entire wealth during the 2007-2008 financial crisis, regained his billionaire status in 2015. Thor is Iceland's only billionaire to date. Before our number 1, we want you to subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. Number 1. Eike Batista. Brazilian businessman Eike Batista made and then lost a multi-billion-dollar fortune in the mining and oil exploration industry over the period of 2 decades. With $30 billion US of personal wealth in 2011, Batista became the 8th richest person on Earth and the richest in Brazil. His demise as a billionaire began after a sudden crash in the mining industry and the collapse of one of his biggest companies, OGX. 2 years later, in 2013, Forbes reported that Batista lost nearly $20 billion US in just 1 year alone. A year later, due to his massive debt and continuously falling company stock, his personal wealth took a huge plunge from $200 million US to negative wealth. On January 2017, Batista was arrested by Brazilian authorities in a high-profile $100 million US money laundering case known as Operation Car Wash. So that's all. That was our 10 billionaires who are now broke. That was a tragic storyline, right? If we miss out anyone, tell us in the comments section below. See you next time!